Sometimes you haven't done anything physically demanding, yet you feel completely drained. Your body is still, but your mind has been racing for hours, analyzing decisions, replaying conversations, imagining outcomes, and solving problems that may not even exist. This invisible mental effort quietly consumes energy, leaving you exhausted without ever leaving your chair. Understanding why intense thinking tires the brain reveals how mental energy works, why overthinking drains you so quickly, and what happens inside the mind when thoughts never seem to stop. Today, we will talk about why you feel tired after thinking too much. So before we start, make sure to hit the like button and subscribe to my channel. 1. The hidden energy cost of thinking. Many people believe that mental activity does not consume much energy because it is invisible. However, the brain is actually one of the most energy-demanding organs in the human body. Even when you are sitting still, your brain is constantly working, processing memories, interpreting information, planning actions, and analyzing possibilities. When you begin to think deeply about a problem, replay past events, or worry about future outcomes, this activity intensifies. The brain uses glucose and oxygen to power billions of neurons that communicate through electrical and chemical signals. The more complex your thoughts become, the more energy these neural networks require. Over time, continuous thinking begins to drain your mental resources. This is why a long period of deep thinking can make you feel as tired as physical work. Your brain is essentially running at high speed for extended periods. When this mental effort continues without breaks, the brain's energy supply becomes depleted, creating a feeling of exhaustion, brain fog, and reduced concentration. Understanding that thinking consumes real biological energy helps explain why overthinking leaves you mentally drained, even when your body has barely moved throughout the day. 2. Cognitive overload and mental fatigue. One of the main reasons overthinking causes exhaustion is something psychologists call cognitive overload. Cognitive overload happens when your brain tries to process too much information at the same time. Every thought, decision, memory, or worry adds another layer to your mental workload. When the number of thoughts increases beyond what your brain can efficiently manage, the mind becomes overwhelmed. Imagine opening dozens of tabs on a computer. Each tab requires memory and processing power. Eventually, the system slows down, freezes, or crashes. Your brain works in a similar way. Overthinking fills your mental space with constant questions, possibilities, and imagined scenarios. Instead of reaching conclusions, the mind repeatedly cycles through the same information. This continuous loop drains mental resources and reduces the brain's efficiency. As cognitive overload increases, your ability to concentrate weakens, decisions become harder, and even simple tasks begin to feel difficult. The exhaustion you feel is not weakness or lack of motivation. It is your brain signaling that it has reached its processing capacity and needs time to recover from excessive mental activity. 3. The role of the prefrontal cortex. The part of your brain most responsible for heavy thinking is called the prefrontal cortex. This region manages decision-making, planning, problem-solving, and self-control. When you analyze situations, evaluate risks, or imagine different outcomes, the prefrontal cortex becomes highly active. While this area is extremely powerful, it also consumes a large amount of energy. When you spend long periods thinking intensely, this part of the brain begins to tire. As the prefrontal cortex becomes fatigued, your ability to focus and think clearly starts to decline. This is why after hours of thinking about a problem, the solution often becomes harder to see instead of clearer. Mental fatigue reduces cognitive performance, making tasks feel more difficult than they actually are. Research shows that when the prefrontal cortex is overworked, people are more likely to make impulsive decisions, struggle with concentration, and feel mentally drained. Your brain is essentially asking for a break so it can restore its energy levels. Understanding the role of this brain region explains why stepping away from a problem often leads to better ideas and clearer thinking later. 4. Emotional thinking drains more energy. Not all thinking is equally exhausting. Emotional thinking, such as worrying, replaying arguments, or imagining worst-case scenarios, drains significantly more energy than neutral thinking. This happens because emotional thoughts activate multiple brain systems at the same time. When you worry or feel anxious, the brain's emotional center becomes active and signals the body to prepare for potential threats. Even if the situation exists only in your mind, your brain reacts as if it is real. This activates stress hormones and increases mental alertness. As a result, your brain is not only thinking but also managing emotional responses and stress reactions simultaneously. This combination significantly increases mental workload. Emotional overthinking also tends to repeat itself in cycles, making it harder for the brain to rest. Instead of solving the problem, the mind keeps replaying the same thoughts again and again. Over time, this repetitive emotional processing drains mental energy and leaves you feeling exhausted. 5. Decision fatigue and mental depletion. Another reason thinking too much leads to exhaustion is decision fatigue. Throughout the day, your brain makes thousands of decisions, some small and some complex. Every choice requires mental effort, even if you are not consciously aware of it. When you spend long periods analyzing options or questioning decisions, the mental effort multiplies. Overthinking forces the brain to evaluate possibilities repeatedly, often without reaching a clear conclusion. This constant evaluation gradually depletes the brain's cognitive resources. As decision fatigue increases, the brain begins to resist further effort. You may notice that even simple decisions start to feel overwhelming. Tasks that once seemed easy suddenly require much more mental energy. This is not because the tasks have become harder, but because your brain's decision-making capacity is temporarily exhausted. 6. The loop of rumination. One of the most exhausting forms of thinking is rumination. Rumination occurs when the mind repeatedly focuses on the same thoughts, problems, or past experiences without reaching resolution. Instead of moving forward, the brain becomes stuck in a loop. This loop forces the brain to process the same information over and over again. Each cycle of rumination consumes mental energy but rarely produces new insights. Because the brain cannot resolve the issue, it continues searching for answers that never arrive. This endless cycle gradually drains cognitive resources and increases mental fatigue. Rumination often happens during quiet moments, such as before sleep or when you are alone with your thoughts. The mind attempts to solve emotional or personal problems, but instead of creating solutions, it becomes trapped in repetitive thinking. 7. Stress hormones and mental exhaustion. Overthinking often triggers stress responses in the body. When the brain perceives a problem or potential threat, it activates the body's stress system. Stress hormones increase alertness and prepare the body to deal with challenges. While this response is useful in short bursts, constant thinking keeps the stress system activated longer than necessary. As a result, the brain remains in a heightened state of alertness. Maintaining this state requires significant energy. Over time, the body and brain begin to feel worn out from the continuous demand. Chronic stress also disrupts sleep, concentration, and emotional balance. This creates a cycle where stress increases thinking, and thinking increases stress. If you liked this video and would like to see more like it, please give it the thumbs up, leave a comment, and click the button to subscribe.